Welcome back to Hell Let Loose. Today I'll be taking you through some top tips on the Engineer, a class you will see often used, but not used well. Once you've broken out your tool of creation, the wrench, you will see there are plenty of items you can drop using supply. The ones I'll talk about first are the nodes. And top tip number 1, you can't place nodes in your base sector.
Yeah, no bother.
You're going to need 50 supply to place these nodes down, and unless you've been told where to go to, the best way to find them is to check your map. Before placing the node, however, make sure nobody else needs them for something important like a garrison. Easiest way to do that is again, have a check in the map and see if there's a garrison in range. If there already is, feel free to place that node down. In the simplest of terms, the nodes provide resources for the commander powers. The first one I'm going to place down is fuel, so we can respawn some tanks. Location for the nodes is essential. The further from the HQ sector they are, the more resources they generate. Now, you could flank around and try and hide them on the side of the map, but there's always a chance they could be discovered and destroyed. I've cunningly decided to hide the munitions node behind this hay bale, where it will never be discovered. The munitions node provides the commander with the abilities of supply drop, strafing run and bombing run, as well as providing all the ammunition for the AT guns. Look at that, Master of Disguise, perfectly safe. And as you can see, I'm just checking the map to find myself some more supplies that I've already got a garrison next to them. And I'm going to place the Manpower Node. Now, I can't find a massive use for the Manpower Node. I know it doesn't affect respawn time, and I know it doesn't affect tickets, as we have infinite tickets. It might have something to do with commander powers when it comes to capturing a point, but as far as I can tell, it's not overly useful. If anybody does know what it's for, please leave it in the comments. With the early game admin dealt with of making the commander happy by placing nodes, we can break out the wrench and start repairing this tank. It's lucky I came across it, it appears to be in terrible condition. Look at that, 40% health. It's also worth going onto the local chat and making sure the tank knows you're there, so they don't reverse over you. On top of being a tank repairing node placing legend, you're also an incredibly competent rifleman, especially when armed with the M1. But it's position defense where you can really come into your own, as the engineer is armed with 2 AP mines. Best place to put them is at choke points. I'm going to stick one out of the front door where the enemy just ran in through, and I'm going to put another one out the hole at the back where I snuck in through. After a slight getting shot in the face incident, let's go check on the mine at the back door. And as you can see, we have a crumpled, bloodied body here, and somebody dead in the doorway. Well, probably best I replant it. But not before being a rifleman first. We've captured the position, but now it's time to hold it against a counterattack. I've already checked there's a garrison down, so let's put some defences down. Barbed wire's suitably annoying. And I'll place hedgehogs at all the main roads into town, just to really slow those tanks down. Who says it's just AT that can knock out enemy tanks? Now it's time to really earn this engineer pay. You are packing an AT mine, but that requires the enemy tank to roll over it. In this case, he's static, so I'm going to place it alongside him and detonate it myself. You can detonate any AT mine just by shooting it, but make sure you get a sufficient distance away first.
Is there actually more nades? Woo!
And here's an example of tank hunting when you don't take your own advice and don't stand back. Admittedly, I was in a bit more of a rush on this one, so it was more of a suicide run. But it's going to be a noble sacrifice, I think you'll agree. On my way back to replacing a munitions node, I came across this enemy supply drop. I also came across the scene of one of the worst massacres I've ever encountered. There must be 10-15 guys on the ground here. But I also came across another one of our engineers, who's cowardly hiding behind a sandbag he's built himself. Don't know what he's doing that for. Oh. Beware of squad leaders oversharing.
All over my body, there's tons of guys just...
Once you've dealt with putting down the nodes, building everything, and knocking out the occasional tank, do not be afraid to get stuck in. This semi-automatic rifle on the US side is fantastic for close quarters combat. It's particularly good from the hip.
Capturing the point.
Ugh, that seemed overkill. Before you decide to do a suicide run against a tank, make sure there isn't somebody outside it repairing it. I'm by no means an expert on the engineer, but thank you for watching. I hope you found some of these tips useful, and like and subscribe for more Hell Let Loose.